Yeah, so okay, so the first thing I would like us to do with this session is there are some prerequisites that you need to have, and these are the prerequisites. I've shared the link in the chat before. I will go ahead and share it again. So you need to actually have Visual Studio Code. It makes it easier for us to actually code with if you want to code along, but you can always watch the video and code along later, so you can download Visual Studio later. And you need Python, the 3.6 version or later. You need an Azure account. So the good thing with Azure accounts for students, you have the ability to create a free Azure account. And if you are not a student, you are also able to create an Azure account. So I'll send the link. So the first link I just sent now is for Visual Studio. So you can download Visual Studio using that link. Um, there's a free account here. I'll paste it just now. So if you want to create a free Azure account, if you are not a student, you can use this link I just pasted. And if you are a student, I'll paste the link for students now. You can also create an account. You get free credits with that account. You get $100 credits, and you can use that for resources and all. So just make use of those links. Yeah, so you create an Azure student account if you're still a student, and if you're not a student, you use the other link to create an account. You download Visual Studio Code, and also you can go ahead and download Python if you don't have Python installed already. So you can just go ahead, go online and check for the steps of installing Python if you are not familiar with that. So I'm not going to go into the details of Python today, but I can also share resources if you would need to do that, if you would need that actually. So what are our learning objectives today? So today we want to learn how to set up a Flask development environment. We're going to use Flask to build a form. So that form is the basic web app is going to have like a form, and you submit a request, and then the AI behind it, which is we are going to be using the translator service today, would translate that text from one language to the other. So we're deploying a simple translator model that can translate from one language to the other. And we're going to be getting that model from Azure. So that's why you're creating Azure. It's a model that has already been created and deployed. Um, so this session is not so advanced to the point where we'll be deploying our own models. We're going to be deploying a pre-built model, and it's going to be from Azure directly to our Flask application. All right, and so what's our agenda for today? I've done our introduction. So the next thing we're going to do is actually set up a development environment. Oh, yes, there will be a recording. The meeting is being recorded, and I'll post it on my YouTube channel as well, so you can view it at any time. Yeah, so we're going to look at Flask fundamentals. Then we're going to create the app. We're going to do the translation, and then we are going to test it. So a big welcome. If you are just joining us, welcome. Thank you for joining us. It's good to have everyone in here. And quick one, you can actually share the link of the meeting to people if they are still interested in joining, even though they might not have registered. So you might have to like manually get the link and share. All right, so moving forward, the next thing we are going to actually do is to create a development environment, and I'll be doing that in that Visual Studio Code I asked us to download. I would share my screen, and then we'll proceed from there. So if you downloaded Visual Studio Code, you would have a new window, that is going to look somehow like what I have on my screen. I'm going to share my screen now on the other screen. Let's see. Yeah. So if you look at my screen right now, you would see what I have. You see Visual Studio interface, and essentially there's nothing on there, and I have my terminal. So if you don't have your terminal activated, you can easily go to this top part and press it, or you go ahead and do a Control J, and your terminal is going to pop up. So we are going to create a new folder for this project. If you are not familiar with command prompts, um, just uh, follow the steps. I will explain as I create it anyways. So what I just did is mkdir. I'm saying make a directory. I'm telling the command prompt interface to create a directory for me. So that's what you know as create a folder, right? So I don't want to manually go and create a folder. So I'll just make a directory and call it Contoso. So this is the folder where we are going to be having this project stored in. So once I do that, I hit enter, and the page that's folder is created already. And you can see the last write time, the name of it, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move into that folder. So I want to enter into that folder, right, and see what is actually in there, or I want to work inside of that folder. So I'm going to say cd. Cd means change directory, and move into the Contoso folder. So if you notice, it has changed from the default name into Contoso. Yeah, so in this folder, I want to do my work. I want to do all of the Python and everything inside. Oh, the font is quite small. All right, just a second. Let me see if I can make it bigger. Thank you for bringing that to my notice. Let me see if I can make it bigger. Just a second. Is that better now? Zoomed it all up. Yes, the recording will be available. Please, next time someone asks, please help me answer. Those of us that have been here, the recording will be available. So for the chat is the fonts, are we able to see it clearly now? Are we able to see, or do I still need to make it bigger? Okay, great. Okay, so I just changed directory into the Contoso folder, and now I want to create a virtual environment. If you were in my last session, I spoke extensively about what a virtual environment is and why we need to create a virtual environment. We need to create a virtual environment because we want to do, maybe we want to install the necessary files and software that is particular to this program alone, and we don't want to interfere with probably other projects that might be on the system or the server. So all right, thank you very much. So we don't want our project to interfere with other things in the system, or we don't want the versions to clash also. So we create a virtual environment, and that environment is like an environment particular to a certain project alone. So anything we install inside of that project stays in that project. It doesn't go elsewhere. So that's why we need a virtual environment. So um, yeah, let's see preferences, right? And let's see if we can increase that. Quickly do that on this side. Yeah, it's quite big. Just a second, just to make it clearer so that we can all see. So I'm going to increase the font size. Yeah, yeah, I think this should be okay now. Just a second, my screen will be back up. Okay, I hope that makes it better now. Yeah, so I've done that and hopefully that makes it better. Yeah, so next thing I'm going to do is to create a virtual environment. And if you have installed Python, this should work. I'm going to say Python-m venv. What venv means is virtual environments. So I'm going to type that in twice. Just for reference, I'll paste this in the chat in case there's anyone following. You can also do that as well. And hit enter. So what this does is it creates a virtual environment for me within the app, within the application, or sorry, within the IDE. And so that way I can easily just at any point use my virtual environment. So it's still creating that. Okay, it's done now. So I have a command. So the next thing I will do is to actually activate this virtual environment because I need to make use of it, right? So are we following so far? Is it making sense? If I've not lost you, let me type in the chat. Just share your feedback. Let me see the chat. All right. Thank you. So yeah, so we've created our virtual environments. So now we need to activate that virtual environment because it's still um, just there. It's not activated yet. So to activate it, this is the usual way we do that. And these commands I'm actually sharing are for Windows. So if you have like maybe a Linux system or maybe a Mac, the commands will be slightly different. I think to do this, you would just need to type source before you type all of this that I typed. Okay, so let's see source um env hash script. I made mistakes. It was also supposed to be scripts, not bin. So bin is actually what we have in Linux and Mac, not Windows. So yeah, it's supposed to be .venv/script/activate. But if it was Linux I was using, it would have been the first command I wrote. I type a source before that, and that would activate that for a Linux or a Mac system. But in Windows, it is venv/script/activate. So when you click that, if you notice, I have a venv on the very left side now. It now shows me that I'm in a virtual environment. And what that means is I can easily go ahead and do anything I want to do, and it will stay within this environment. It's not going to go beyond that environment. So another thing I want us to do here is we're going to create a file. So easily you can just come to this top part of your screen and open a new file. I'll clear this welcome screen. So just open a new untitled text file. So, and I have GitHub Copilot activated in my own Windows. That's a very cool feature that helps you code along. You can ask GitHub Copilot to actually do something for you. This is not a GitHub Copilot section, but I can demonstrate that. If I do a Control I can ask GitHub Pilot to do what I want to do, but I'll create it normally first. So let me create it normally first. I'll just say, I want to type in a couple of things that I want my requirements file to have. So I'm going to say Flask, enter, Python .env. That's another. So all of these things I'm asking for are actually libraries, and they would be installed with they'll be installed using my command prompt. So I'm going to save this file as requirements, and save it as a txt file. You can leave it as plain text, just save. So yeah, what this does is it tells my application that this is the set of requirements for this project to run. If I don't have these requirements, then this project will not run. So all I need to do now is I'll come to the command prompt back at the bottom and type in pip. If you are familiar with Python, you know that pip is the package install manager for installing libraries. And also, if you don't know before, Flask is actually like a Python framework. It's based off Python and it is used to build web apps. And that's what we're actually using. And then the python.env is actually a file, is something we use to manage environment variables. I'll speak more on that later. And also request is another requirement that we use. So we have to have all of this in the app. So I'll say pip install -r, then say requirements.txt. So rather than installing all of these things that I need one by one, I just went ahead to use um okay, I need to, let's see, am I in the right folder? Oh, okay. So I need to go back one step. The see the dot dot r. I need to actually open a folder for this. Let me open the folder where we have our projects and put the requirement.txt there. So that way we're not moving in between folders. But ordinarily, I could just have cd back into um, my root folder and then done that. But I want everything to be in a single place. I want everything to be in one place. So yeah, if you're raising your hand, I can't see. I see someone's hand is raised. I can't see from here. So you can just ask your question, right? If you have a question. Yeah. If you have a question, you can just go ahead and ask. You don't have to wait. So let me recreate that file again. So now let me use Copilot. So use Copilot, I just say Control I, and I can tell it create a requirement file for me. So it's going to ask me what language I'm using. I would say Python. Yep. And that's that. So it just gave me the command to run, and I'll just copy this and paste it. So that's the power of GitHub Copilot. But today we're not running GitHub Copilot. I'm just showing that it's a possibility. So I'll just go ahead and type in those commands manually. Python.env .env and requests. Yeah, so, and I'll go ahead and save this as requirements.txt. Once I have this saved, I can go ahead and rerun that command, pip install-r requirements.txt. So you can see it's downloading all of the things I need for this project, downloading Python, downloading. Oh, I've missed your chat. Sorry about that. Please just let me know if you have questions. I can't see. I've increased the size right now again, if you can see now. I'm not looking at the chat, so I didn't know you had questions. Yeah. Can you see the scripts now? My screen should not be off. Please confirm that you can see my screen. Okay, yeah. So what I did was Python install -r requirements. Like a general, it's a general command that you use to install your requirements at any point in time whenever you have created a requirements folder. So yeah, I just did that and it has installed all of the things that I need. So you can easily follow through. Or I'll share the learn module. You can easily go through later. There's a learn module for this, and also the video of this session would be available, so you can actually this. So okay, this the script I used to activate was this. If you are using Windows, you use this to activate the script. You use this. And if you are using Mac, there's something else. Instead of scripts, you have bin, and then you will start with source. Yeah. So that we have all our requirements. So right now, we have Flask installed, we have python.env installed, we have requests installed. Everything is installed. So we can proceed to actually now working with all of this one by one. And so let's go to Flask fundamentals. I want us to learn a couple of things. So let me share my slide again. I'll share the slide. Let's see. So there are just a couple of things I want to share with us regarding Flask that will help us understand even better. You can, I typed it in the chat. You can check through the chat, scroll up, you would see that. Okay, so yeah, let's go to now we've created that. So what is the next thing to do? I want us to look at Flask fundamentals. I've said that Flask is an open source web micro framework for Python that you use to like build web apps. So what happens within it? What happens within Flask, or what happens to websites or applications that you create within Flask? So when a user uses a web application, they actually indicate what they want to do, right? Through the browser and the URLs that are being typed in the website, or typed in the browser rather. So, for example, if you look at the screen right now, you can see adventureworks.com. That's like the main page. But if you see adventureworks slash products in slash widget, it means you want to go into a particular file called widgets. You want to go into details. Or you see the other one, adventureworks slash cart slash buy. It shows that you want to buy something. So when you now create a web app or anything you create, there you usually put a button on your application. It could be a submit button, it could be a buy now button. But what actually happens is that that button is routed to somewhere in an application, or the in your development environment, or whatever it is, or in your server. So what the server understands is these routes, and the routes are indicated by those URL. So in Flask, right, we have to define the routes of what we are actually doing. So if somebody says they want to go to buy now, we need to define that route, right? So whenever you browse any URL, at the back end there's a server that understands what you are trying to say. Like there's a server that tries to see, is this person looking for the main page, is this person doing that? As a developer, you don't even really need to worry about the first part of the URL. That's like all this adventureworks.com. What you need to worry about is like the products parts, the widget parts. So you want your application to be able to direct users into that part. So the first part that says adventureworks.com is what we know as a domain, right? And anything after the domain is known as a route. So the route is a path to an action. So whenever you tap on that button, you are simply telling that application to go into that route. So in our application, we need to indicate how we want to respond whenever a user makes a request to go into a particular route. We would understand this better when we actually go into our web app. So example is when a user clicks submit, he has selected the language he wants to work with and he clicks submit. What part of our application do we want to present to the user? We want to present our translated service, right? So we need to define that as a route as well. Okay, so I'll go to the next slide. So routes can be used in many ways, and there are two methods that you can use. One of the two main methods really, but there are a lot of other methods. But the two common methods, we have the get method and like the post method. So whenever you use a get method, what it means is that you are requesting information from the website. So most times when you probably hit google.com and then it opens, you have actually done a get request to get Google to open on your screen. But there's something else called post. Post means the user sends an information and is requesting more information based on what they sent. So an example is when you type in something in your search bar on Google and then you hit enter. What you have done is a post request. You have posted um, the search term, whatever you were searching for, and it has been sent to the server, and the server will respond with the page of your search results. So this is important because we are going to be using a get and a post today with our app. So we need to actually define all of that. We need to create that and we need to work with that. So I just needed us to have like that foundation. So this is like a common web flow. If you look at the screen right now, you see as a user, you send a get request to the server and the server returns the page to you. And most of us might know, or some of us might not know, most pages or all pages, this framework behind it, like the skeletal framework behind it is a HTML, right? So your hypertext markup language, and it's what defines what a website would look like. Maybe CSS now comes to beautify your JS and other things, but at the very core foundation, HTML is the foundation, or like let me say the skeletal framework behind that. So the server returns that to you. And if you notice the second part, so the user can complete a form, fill a search bar, and submit the results via post. And then the server returns information through um, through an HTML result, and then you can view it. So that's what we are going to do today. So this is how our code is actually going to look like. Today we are going to actually create a route. You know, I've explained our route before. So we are saying that app.route. What we're saying is whenever we hit our web page and anything after the slash is the route, remember? So we're not looking at the main domain, we're looking at everything after the route. And if somebody makes a get request, return index.html. That is what we are saying essentially. And if somebody makes a post request, it should return results.html based on data. So data can be anything that the user has sent in. So that's why we said some data. So it can be anything at any point in time, right? Okay, so next. Another thing is in Flask, you need to also create templates. So in your templates, um, yeah, we're going to create a templates folder right now, and in your templates, that's where you store the basic HTML folder that will like be the framework of every request answer to your users. We're going to go into that more when we look into the templates. So if you notice, you can see this is just like a basic HTML with a header that says welcome, and then you see some curly braces. It's actually called Ginger. It's like it's actually called placeholder. There's a template engine behind Flask, and that is called Ginger. So it's the one that uses this tags. Ginger is Ginja, right? It's the templating engine for Flask. So it's the one that uses this syntax. So it represents a placeholder as curly braces. In this particular header, this name is a placeholder. It means that whenever a user maybe types in a name as a request, right, that name is what Ginger is going to replace this name with. So if, for example, the app has asked me, what is your name? And I say, my name is Precious. I type in Precious. So the header of that page is going to say, welcome, Precious. If it's a different name for another user later, it's going to say, welcome, Tolu, welcome, Godwin, welcome, Mary Stella. So that's how it works, right? Okay, I just wanted to lay that foundation for us so that we can actually look into that. I'll skip the knowledge check part and just go back into my screen so that we can actually work together. So I'm back to my Visual Studio screen. I hope we can all see that. Please always communicate whenever you can see my screen through the chat so that I know. If you raise your hand, I won't see it, but a chat might send me a notification. Okay, so now we want to create our core application, right? We want to create the application that is actually going to do all of these things that we've been talking about. And we're going to create that application. We're going to call it app.py. So the name of the application is app, and it's going to be where we are going to store, and it's a Python file, right? So we can actually type in Python code in there, right? So first thing I'm going to do is type in a couple of things like the basics for Flask. Let's see. So let's say we're going to call from Flask. You know, we've stored Flask already. So I'm going to say from Flask import Flask. Let me see Flask. So if you notice, it's already even suggesting some of the common libraries. I don't think I need JSONify, but I need request, so I'm going to leave request. I need redirect. Yeah, I need redirect. I need URL4. I need render template. So I'll just type in tab. I don't need flash, but I need session. Yeah, I need session. So, so yeah, that's like the first line, and I'll go under back to PowerShell. Yeah, I also need to add this line, app equals to Flask name. Yes. So these are the first two lines of my, don't worry, you have access to this code when I share the learn module. There's like a learn module you can actually learn this from. So you don't have to like really code along if you don't have that speed. Just understand the explanation and you can go back to it later, or you can actually go back to the video later. All right. So Next is you can see one thing with Visual Studio is that it will actually give you suggestions, and those suggestions are relevant, right? Because it understands that I'm working with Python and Flask. So it has already suggested the next line for me, which is app routes. It's trying to say, okay, what is the route that you want to make this app go through? And I would just go in and just click tab. Yeah, so it's not complete yet. I need to specify the method I want to work. So I'll just say method, and you can see it has added the methods already. But I think I want to start with just get. So I'll take out post. I'll take out post and leave get. Yeah, I want to just do just get for now. And then the next line is define the index. So I'll define a function called index, and it says return render templates index.html. So that is correct. I have my get method. So whatever anybody types in, whenever they try to get information, is going to call on this particular template. I don't have the index.html yet, but I will create it. So I'll hit enter. And yeah, another thing I'm going to do is app.routes. If you notice, this says slash login. So this is if I wanted to create like a link for login, but we're not creating login links today. So we're just creating a default request. So I'll just remove the login. I have my post now, and then I'll hit enter. And you can see it's already trying to like give me suggestions on what my posts might be. But I I don't think I want to use that. Let's see. So I'll just change it to see. Um, I'll change this to probably results.html. I can come back later to change it. Results.html. Spider Control S. I have to change the name of this to app since it's a Python file and just save. So it's my app.py. This is my app.py file, and I'm actually going to make use of it later. Okay, so now I want to create a new folder. In this folder, that's where I want to don't save. Yeah, that's where I want to have a couple of things in. So I might want to create I want to create just a second. cd dot dot. I want to create um a template for my HTML in that particular folder. So I can just do make here and say templates. So that's where I'm going to store my HTML. So create the templates. Yeah. So I have my templates folder in there. And within that templates folder, I want to put my index.html and every other thing. So that's where I'll be having my HTML and every other thing that I want to make use of. So let's go back to the slides. Just a second. Let me see. Where's the slide? Yeah, I just stopped sharing my screen. I'm about to share the slides. Yeah, you would have my screen up in a couple of minutes, seconds rather. Yeah, so I want to talk about, yeah, so the next thing we've done now is we've created our core application, we've added the routes, and we want to actually now go ahead to create our templates. Now, within that templates, that's where we want to add our HTML file. So if you've seen an HTML file before, you know you have the headers, you have you have what's it called? You have the body, you can have a form within that, and every other thing, right? So, but I'm going to go ahead and create the templates folder so that we can have it, and then I'm just going to paste the HTML code because it's a bit lengthy, so I don't want to go ahead and start. Just a second. Please give me a second. I don't want to go ahead and start typing HTML from scratch. That's going to take like a long time, and I'll just paste in the code and then would work through that. You would have access to the code also, like I said earlier. So okay, so I'll share my screen, my Visual Studio screen back again. Just give me a second. Having okay, we're back up. All right, let me share my Visual Studio. So we're going to create a folder and call that folder we're going to call that folder template. Just start that with small letters. So within this template, I'm going to create a file, and I'll call it index.html. All right. So I have my index.html, and you can actually use Copilot to actually create an index.html file for you. You can tell it to create a default HTML file. So I'll just paste what I have. Let's see. All right. So let me just quickly explain what I have in the HTML. So HTML, the language is English. The head is like the header of the website. And I'm using a particular template for my JS. And just a second. I see I have 5 minutes left. I need to add more time. Okay. Yeah. So create the I'm back. So yeah, the title of the page is called Translator, and the header we call it Translation Service, and there's a form within it. Okay, I'll just paste the code here in case. That's the HTML. There's a form within it, and in that form, I have created, this is the form area. I've created a place with language, right? And with different language options. And then there's a button for submit, a submit button, but the text within that submit button is translate, right? So I've created all of that. And the next thing we are going to do is we have our app. Basically, everything is set for this app for now. Now we're going to go to our Azure account, and that is where we are going to now go and implement, or would say take that machine learning model that we want to work with, right? So I would go ahead and do that. But before I do that, there's something we need to do. So I need to open my command prompt here. Okay, see, cd. Let me just activate the virtual environment from here. Yeah, so I want to set my Flask to development, right? So that's the command I'll show you now. Set flasks underscore env equal to development. All right, so once I hit, once I make use of this, yeah, so once I make use of this, I'll be able to set my environment to Flask. Just need to hit enter. All right, so the next thing we want to do is we want to go into Azure. Like I said, you would need an Azure account to run this because we're using like a pre-built model. We are not going to create the model ourselves. So there's a translation service within Azure that we can make use of. So I'll just go ahead and bring my Azure account so that we can see. So once you sign into Azure, let me go back to home. Yeah, so this is how your Azure looks when you log in. And I want to work with translator. So it's already on my screen, but you can just go in, whenever you get in there, you type in translator. So I have it on my screen. But let me do the remaining steps. So go to translators, and within a translator, and then you say create translator. Now, yeah, you need to actually now enter in some values in here. And remember we installed certain things in our Visual Studio the other time. One of it was python.env. The reason we installed .env is because Azure is going to give us a key, right? And within that key, you use that key within your app rather. So that key is unique to you. And so it's very important that that key does not leak. So it's basic cyber security now. So we're going to use what that python.env to be able to access that key without explicitly declaring it within our application so that people cannot access it. And we're going to create a file called env later, where we would store all that information. So python.env helps us access env files, that's environment variable files, and they are secure in your system. You don't upload them, you don't push them to GitHub, you just store them within your system, right? So you need that Python .env to actually make use of that. So let me go ahead and fill. So I can say resource. I have actually a resource group. I'm just going to say create new. Um, I'll call it, let's say, new flags dash AI. Yeah. Okay. So, or yeah, new flags AI. I thought I had one before. So then the next thing is the region. I'm going to choose the one closest to me. Yeah, so I think Central US. Yeah, Central US should be one for me. And the name I'm going to put in Precious, Precious Flask. Remember not to forget um what you do there. So, right, I'm going to just when you want to choose the pricing tier, you can have different. I have different tiers for pricing for mine, but I have a ambassador account, so I can even decide to rack up. But please just stay with the free tier whenever you do yours if you have this option, because I have $150 a month to spend, but you might not have that. And if your card details is connected to Azure and you run you run this application past 2 million, they'll start charging you. So just do free, which is up to 2 million characters translated per month, right? So which is what I will select here. And once I'm done with that, I will go to um, review plus create at the bottom. It's going to ask, tell me everything about the app, like just a review. By clicking create, you agree to the legal terms and all of that. And I'm just going to click create. So you can see it is deploying the cognitive services, and it has successfully done that. That was fast. So the thing is, the model has already been created, it has been deployed. Or ordinarily, if I had my own model, I can also deploy it on Azure and then use it from here, right? So that's also a possibility. So if you're a machine learning engineer or you're a data scientist, you can just create your own and then have it deployed on Azure and then use it. But we are using one that has been created by Azure already. So I'll just go to resource, right? And under resource, I have overview, all my options. This is it. Okay, but I want to view my endpoints and my keys. So I'll go to keys and endpoints at the bottom here. I'm not going to show you my keys. So I'll copy my key. I'll copy key one. I'll just copy to clipboard, right? And then you can see there's these are my endpoints. So these are like the APIs. What is API? API is application programming interface. It is like the interface that allows you interact with a particular service or a website through programming or through making API calls. API is application programming interface. So you are interacting with that website or interacting with that service through code. right? So you can use this to actually connect to that service at any point in time, right? Okay, so now I have my text translation API. Means anytime that anybody hits that button, the API connects to this to actually work out. Okay, so what is the next thing I'm going to do? The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my account. Let's see. So you can see my Visual Studio. I'm back in Visual Studio, and I'll show you how to actually do that. Let's see. So within my contoso, but not in the templates folder, just within my contoso, I'll create a file and just type .env and hit enter. So you can see this .env. It tells us what it tells that .env that we installed the last time to actually come to this in order to pick those variables. So the things you need to work with are key. You say key equal to, then that key you copied from your Azure, you paste it in here. I'm not going to paste that now. I'll paste that off screen because I don't want to share my key. But the endpoint is the same. And the endpoint is from that same Azure account. Let me go back and see if I can bring that back up here. Let me bring that back up. So if you notice, there's like endpoint at the bottom, this one. So copy that, minimize, and paste that endpoint in here. So this application is directly going to talk to this other guy whenever we hit. And then you need to add the location because remember we added location that time. So I think my own location, let's see, let me see. Was it West US? I think I used Central US. Yeah, Central US. So it's not West US like it is suggesting. So I'll say Central US. Yeah, Central US. That's my location. And off screen, I'm going to paste um, my environment variable, the key. I'm going to paste the key here. Sorry, I'm not generous enough to share my key because I don't want somebody racking up a lot of translation with my key. So keep your key or guard it jealously. So that being said, I'm not going to open the, yeah, so I've saved that pick one. Oops, I think I might have deleted one of my files. It's no worries, I can always create it back. Let's see. I need to recreate my app.py file. And in that app.py, I need to go and repaste what we did the last time. Let's see, from Flask, bots, render templates, hotels, um, request, URL for, I think, session and redirect. Yeah, those are the things I need. app equals to Flask. Flask name. Approach. Or let's just do our get method for now. We'll come back to the post method. Yeah, so I'll control save this. Yeah. Oh, I need to move this up. Yeah, app.py should not be within my template, so that's I've done that. Just to be sure, I want to rerun. Interesting. I lost my requirements file as well. Okay, that's fine. Let's just go ahead and create that requirements.txt. And the requirements I used were class, python.env, and requests. We'll go ahead and save that and rerun. Okay, yeah, I think I have everything now. So I would actually test this service to see if it is working. I'll do CLS. Okay, yeah. There's something I need to do again. I need to set my environment. Yeah, I've set Flask as development. So let's see if we can actually run Flask. I think I might run into an issue because I have something running on my port 5000. Yeah, I have something running on my port 5000 at the moment. Okay, I think this. Hmm, spelling issue. So I used small letter to do that. So I should not have used capital letter there. Yeah. Okay, so let's try that again. But I think I might still run into issues. Yeah, because I actually have something running on that port. So I think I need to close that. Just a second. Let me save. Yeah, let me quickly do that on the side. Um, okay, I think I've solved that issue. So let me come back here. Yeah. So what I'm going to do now is type in the command flask run. And you can see it says this is a development server. Do not use it in a production and deployment. Use service, blah, 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 all of that. So it's telling me that my Flask is running on this particular link right now. So what I need to do is control click on this link or type it in. And voila, we have that HTML page that we created. We have it here right now. And it's a form that says enter the text you wish to translate. I can type in hello. This will not work because we've not set our post request, our post route. But yeah, you can see method not allowed because we've not created a post. But the get request is working now, and that's why we have the web page. So we actually need now to do what we need to do is our post request so that we can be able to um, do the translation. So I'll go back to my code and work. So if you notice within my command prompt, can you see the get request says get HTTP and it returned the HTTP request, right? But when it says post, you can see it is red. I got 405 error, which is not allowed, right? So if you are familiar with web development terms, you will know that all of that is all of that is it means that something was not done right. So it means the request is not allowed or something. And in place of this the 127.01 of let's say, you can just type in localhost on your system, right? Localhost is the same thing as this. So you can just say localhost slash 5000. 5000 is the port where this is actually running. So yeah, the last command I ran was flags run. Yeah. Okay, so let me go ahead and work with us on the post request because that's what we need to do right now to actually complete this web app and make it work. We need to be able to call that service. So the next thing to do is we'll go to our Flask app. This is our Flask app, the app.py. I'm going to create a new line here. So remember we installed two things the last time. We installed request, we installed .env. So now is the time to actually use it. So now we're going to say import statements, OS, the operating system, import requests, request help us, we'll import JSON too, yeah. Let's import, sorry, we'll import UUID. Yeah, I think those we don't need those other ones, so I'll just leave them out. So can you see from .env load import load.env? So what this helps us is it helps us load our environment variables. We need to we need to get that key we stored in our environment variable, the endpoint, and also the location. All those things are needed in this code. So, but we don't want to type it within this code so that it is not leaked. Like, so when we push our code to GitHub, somebody does not have access to our key. So we'd put that line and then call this load.env at the bottom. You can see Visual Studio is already giving me the suggestions. Another great IDE that you can make use of, which I make use of day to day for my development, is PyCharm. But I didn't want us to go because PyCharm can be heavy and I didn't want us to go through all of that. We're using Visual Studio Code, which is very, very good for this particular kind of development. And I can integrate my Copilot within it. I can ask it to help me write my code. Remember, all you need to do is click on this guy and ask it. So I can say generate post method. Can you see it has, whoa, I just cancelled it. Let me do that again. Generate post method. So you can accept the changes. So if you notice, it has created it for me at the bottom. And I can now, based on this, do all I want to do, right? So that's one thing, the good thing about Copilots. I don't want to use this. I want to type it from the scratch so that we all can learn, right? So let's go. Let's start typing. So the posts, we have this. Remember, I typed it the last time. We have this. Um, enter, define index posts. So now, another thing that is good is if you notice I've not been doing it, which is a very, very bad practice, is to actually write comments in your code. When you write comments in your code, you can understand it better later, and others who even use your code will be able to understand it. So let's just say I want to, oopsie, I keep forgetting that I'm in an, yeah, I keep forgetting that I'm in an IDE, so I use Shift Enter. Right, so let me do this and read the data from the form. Yeah, so I've written a comment and to explain what I'm doing in this part of the code. So let's say original text. Yeah, I think I like this, but let's call it original text. Let's just call it text. So what we are saying is the original text should be the text that a user types. And request.form means it's going to go and get this form, that website form we actually showed the last time. So we'll go to that. It goes, what this method will do is it will look at whatever the user has typed and take that as original text, right? So another thing we need to set is the target language. So the language we've already established that it is English. The form is in English already. We started with English, and so we need to set a target language. Let's call it target language. Yeah, I think I like this too. So the form should go to the language part. Let me put back the code so that you can see what I'm talking. Put back the website so you can see what I'm talking about. So remember, this is the text and this is the language. So we're saying it should get the current language that we have on there, right? that's the target language. So if it is Italian, the person wants to translate to, or Japanese, or the person wants to translate to German, whichever one. So that's what we're doing in the target language bit of things. So now we want to load our key, our endpoints, and all those and location from the .env file. So I'll just say load information from the env file. So you can see Copilot is actually making cool suggestions because he understands what I'm trying to do, right? So I'll say key equals to os dot. So these are the various methods under OS. I'll just use environ and say key. Yeah, so it will go into that env file and pick the key that's there. And endpoints, it will go there and pick the endpoints. And then location. So this is a slightly more secure way of actually building your applications. So it's not good to hard code things like key or endpoints within your application. It's not good because it can easily be stolen. It can easily be used for something else. So we want to tell it that states the API version. So we want to tell that we want to use a particular API version, right? And you can see this is actually very correct. The current API version for Azure that I want to use is the version 3.0. So this is correct. I'll just go ahead and click tab, right? And then let me say, oops, go back, enter. So now I also want to tell it, let me add target language parameter, or just say add target language. So now I want whatever it does, it should translate whatever we have into target language, which is this variable we have created at the top here. So I would say target language parameter. Yeah, this works for me. So target language parameter to target language, which is this target language, whichever target language that the user sets. And then I will say create the URL, create the URL there, create the full URL for user. And then so let's call this, let's say constructed URL or created URL. Good. So now it's going to be endpoints plus paths plus target language parameter. So all of this will just help you actually create like a string of the URL, and it will show you, okay, we're going to so endpoints, which is this guy, slash the path, then slash the language. So it will be something slash en slash English, blah 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 blah. Okay, so now I want to add some personal stuff. I can still share this because, so for the headers, there are requests. Whenever you're making a request, there are some headers that need to go with it. So like the request header is part of the application, and we just need to specify that, okay, what is the subscription key, the region, the kind of content we are passing through, and all of that. So let me just paste that in here. So I'll just paste it here. So this is it. The subscription key is the key which I specified. The location is the location I specified in my environment variable. Content type, application slash JSON. So we're using a JSON data type. So it is saving our data as JSON and also getting our data as JSON. So this is actually a JSON kind of data type. It's not SQL that is structured, it's unstructured data. And then we have this other boilerplate code that is also a part of Flask that you always would have. So I'll just what I should say, I should actually write something here. Set up the headers or set up the header information. Yeah. So now we've done this. This is the header. We are not quite done yet. So we need to actually set the body of the request. The body of the request is, okay, now this is the header of the request. We're sending a request to Flask that this is my key, this is my location. Flask will validate. Is that correct? Okay, now you've told me what you want to do. Where is the task you want me to perform? So the task you want to perform is actually within the body of the request. So now within the body of the request, we can now say body equals to text, which is that original text, that it is this particular text we want to translate, and it's going to understand that. It's going to say, okay, so now we need to, I don't want to convert the body to a JSON object just yet. What I want to do is I want to make the call using post. So I want to tell you that whenever I make a call request, I want post to be the one to do that. So I'll just say make the requests via posts. Right. So now I'll now say, excuse me, translator. I'll call this translator requests. So it's going to be request.post. Yeah. Constructed URL, which I created earlier. Headers is going to be headers. And then the JSON should contain the body, which I just created above. Yes. That should work. So I'll click enter. So to get the response, yes, get the response. Now I need to get the response. I will now say the translator response. I have translator request, so let me create translator response. Should create, yeah, a JSON with the translator requests and return it back. And then I should get the translated text itself. So get the translated text. So translated text will now be the translator response and translations with text. Yeah, so I think that's what. So if you are not seeing these suggestions in your own code, it might just be that you don't have suggestions turned on, or you don't have GitHub Copilot working. So I have GitHub Copilot, so it's actually making the suggestions for me. And most times, if you've noticed, most of them are correct. So the translator response will come with the translations and the text that I actually sent in the first place. Yeah. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, we should be close to the end. So now we need to call the render template, right? We need to call the render template. And we also need, we need to create a results.html file that's actually going to render that result. So if we are going to create that, we need to actually render that result here too as well. Okay, so first off, I'm going to go to, I'll say call, no, I'm writing a comment, call render template and pass the translated text to it. All right, so now I want to pass the text to it. So I'll just go down and say return render templates. So this is trying to return, but I think we need to create a separate, we can't return the home page again. So we need to create a results.html, and then translated text will now be the translated text. The translated text is going to come in. I need to include the original text. So what was the original text the user sent? I'll call original text equals to the original text the user sent. And probably we can include the target language as well that the user um, wanted to use. Yeah, I think so. I need to add commas to these guys. Yeah, that's why I was having that red line. So it shows there was an error. Yeah, I think we are done with our app.py file now, if I'm not mistaken. If we run into any errors, we'll come back and check. So I'll do the Control S. So let's go to our templates. I need to take my env out of templates. Yeah. Okay, so within templates now, I want to create another HTML file called results.html. What this will do is it would show the results of every request. Remember last time we hit that nothing happened. So now we want something to happen whenever we do that, right? So I'll just paste that here. I have the HTML already, so I'll paste it here. I don't want to type in HTML, honestly. Yeah, and Copilot can create for you as well. That's also another thing. Yeah, so if you notice, I have my header. The language again is English. Create a container. So what I just want to do is I want a heading with original text. Original text should show original text from my form. Translated text should show the translated text. Target language should show the target language. And then there should be a button that says try another one. That will take me back to the home page so that the user can start again. If you notice, this is index, so it takes you back to the index.html we created so that the person can enter in another one. That's another language to try. Okay, so we can stop the Flask application. So come to your command prompt at the bottom here, because all of these things we added would not be in the session that we've done already. If we run this particular Flask again, we'll still have that problem of that post because it doesn't know that the application has been updated. So to stop your Flask if it is running is you press Ctrl C. And once you hit Control C, it stops. If you notice, we're back again. So I can now type in Flask run and hit enter once again. And it says it is running. So Control click on this link would open it. I have it on my browser here. Yes. And I'll say this has been a long session, right? Let's see if we can translate it to Japanese and hit translate. So can you see? It shows my results. This has been long, shows it in Japanese. And the target language code, so it's not just going to write the full thing, it's just the code it returns, which is Japanese. And if I hit try another one, it takes me back to the beginning. I can say, thank you, and translate that to, should we do Italian? Translate, says grazie. What else? Let's try the Russian. Say, hello, my name is Precious. Translate. And you have your Russian. What other language? I think there's German, and say thank you, bye. And you see, so if you've done everything up to this point, you should have your translation service running. Like I said, you don't have to type this 127.7. Blah blah blah. You can actually just type in your system, you can type local host and type in 5,000. That will still take you to this. So this is actually, this particular application is hosted on your laptop. It is not on the internet. So if somebody types in locals from anywhere, it's not going to show them this. You are the only one that has access to this, which is deployed on your laptop, on your local system. So that's why it's called localhost. If you actually want to deploy this to Azure, it is also very possible. I'll probably maybe do another session for that.